So the craziest story. Someone was getting a haircut in the basement during the preached word. Okay. I had to get my notebook out because this is going to be an interesting one. Usually I take my notes on my laptop, but when I get the notebook out, it's been got real because it's a lot. I have to write this down because I got pages. So, we're going to be see-through today. So bear with me. Now, these are the church announcements. I'm just playing. So, I want to start off by giving a backstory. So, I pretty much grew up Baptist. My dad's been ministering since I was born. My dad started pastoring back in 2006. This church, they needed a pastor, and my dad was available. And also, he felt like God was calling him to pastor. So, you had that. So, he started pastoring there. A few years later, he went on to start his own church, which is still going strong to this day. I have been non-denominational since I've been in college and still am now. I love it, by the way. Shout out to the Baptist folks. So growing up, I pretty much hated singing in the choir. Like, I knew all the words to the song. I just didn't want to be up there. I hated the spotlight. It wasn't a fun experience for me. I know some kids, they loved it, but I didn't. Now, don't ask me to sing a song. This isn't the podcast for that. That is for a different podcast, but not here. So don't come in the comments asking me to sing, because that's not what happened. So I pretty much hated going to church as a kid. I didn't want to be there. I remember people walking up to me wanting to say hey. Well, they would say hey, but I would just look at them like they were crazy. I wouldn't speak back. I would eat all the candy in the church and leave the wrappers on the seat. Yeah, I didn't like it. Mind you, I'm like 6, 7 years old, so I eventually developed my people skills, but I pretty much just hated being there. Wouldn't speak to nobody. So yeah, now this ain't the PK confessions. That is coming. But I don't think that we're ready for that yet, because that is going to be some tea on the table. So I would go to sleep during church. I remember getting my mom's purse and making it into a pillow, and I would go to sleep during the sermon, and I would always wake up magically when the service was over. My hair would be a mess, but I didn't care because I had the best nap. I would always get the best naps in church. So my mom did pass when I was 9 years old from breast cancer. And that was the most traumatic time of my childhood, because when you lose somebody that not only lives in the same house as you, but that's closest to you, when you lose somebody, when you lose a significant part of you, you don't easily get over that. She was like always supportive of me. She was admired just by like a lot of people in the community and a lot of people in the church. And no matter what me and my brother did, she always supported us. If I got an award in school, she would be there taking pictures, and she was always there with her camera. If I was when I played softball, she was in the stands taking pictures and coaching me from the stands. So she always supported me no matter what. And I remember we had kitchen table elementary. Those who was raised by the old school know. You're doing your homework at the kitchen table and you get a problem wrong and you get hit with a dish rag. Yeah, that was pretty traumatic. But one thing I learned was from losing a mom is you never stop missing them. Even though she's been gone like 17 years now, you'll never stop missing that parent if y'all had a good relationship. That because that's a part of you that's gone. Like, she brought you into the world and she could take you out. But I learned that as time goes on, that wound does heal. But even to this day, I still miss her. And you just like always cherish them the rest of your life. And you make sure that your kids know who they was. So yeah, I don't have no kids. But yeah, even though she's been gone, I feel like I finally came to the acceptance phase of the grieving process, where you finally accept the fact that they're gone and that you're at peace with it. But sometimes, I mean, I know that can take years, but I still miss her. She was awesome. So fast forward, when I was 10 years old, I was baptized on Father's Day by my dad. I'm pretty sure he was elated. That was a great occasion. We celebrated eating Logan's Rose because that was my favorite. So that was a great day. And yeah, I got to be baptized by my father. Well, I did have anger issues after my mom passed. I remember like I was just like so angry, and I know it made people angry, but nobody really tried to sit down and ask like, why are you angry? I believe like there's a root problem to anger. Yeah, I was like really angry and I was popping off at the mouth, getting smart with people. I was like 11. No, I was in 5th grade. I would just get really angry, but then I learned I can't take my anger out on other people because that's not the proper way to take your anger out. So I eventually learned how to regulate my emotions and control my anger. But yeah, that did happen. I think another reason why I was angry was because one, I was a PK, because that already puts you on a pedestal, and then losing your mom, that puts you further up on a pedestal as well. Because until you lose your mom, you don't know what that's like to have to bury a parent that was close to you. But yeah, I was upset also because like you look around and you see everybody else had their mom, but my mom was no longer living. So that was pretty hard. And also having to get used to living in the house without that parent is also a challenge, because you eventually get used to it, but it's not the same that now that they're gone. So I do believe that can happen at any age where you lose a parent, but nothing really prepares you for it. I've seen grown people like lose a parent and it just tear them apart. Nothing really prepares you for that. So that's pretty rough. But I do believe that when a child has anger issues, I do believe that there's a root cause to the anger. It could be because the father is absent, or they're not getting enough attention at home, or they're probably going through some type of abuse, or they're probably getting bullied at school. So like if a child is having anger issues, I think we should like sit down with them and ask them why. Like, why are you angry? And try to like, because sometimes they just probably just want to be heard. They feel like they're not being heard. They feel like they're not being seen and nobody will listen to them. Maybe they're just trying to get attention and they're not getting none. Maybe just like sitting down and talking with them and like asking them like what's going on, and listening to what they have to say and not dismissing it. Because I do believe that there is a root cause to, anger. So until we pull up the root, it's just going to continue, just grow back. So yeah. I think I explained that pretty well. So as a PK, you're expected to be perfect, but I just want it to be normal. We're not perfect. We was created from dust, just like you. I don't know what makes us we're not perfect. And so I was upset because everybody was constantly watching me. I don't like being watched to this day. I just remember like just getting really upset because I don't I mean, what is there to watch? Like, don't y'all get bored when y'all watch the PKs? Cause like we're boring. Like I don't know, we're boring people. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the spotlights. I like to be in the back, chilling, observing to myself. I don't like the spotlight. That was just never me. Cause I was shy growing up. Like I said, I mean, I wouldn't speak to people at church. I was shy growing up, but like once I got to know you, then I eventually came out of my shell and was a life of the party. But no, I didn't like the spotlight. And so when I would get in trouble, it would be broadcasted in the church. But when other kids would get in trouble, their parents wouldn't allow them to tell. Which I guess, I mean, as a child, I didn't really think much about it. But then I'm just like, that's screwed up. So as a PK, you're expected to dress a certain way. You're expected to dress nice, and I hated dressing up as a kid because to me, I suggested that instead of fourth Sunday being casual Sunday, that it would be pajama day because people wear their bonnets to choir practice anyway, so why not? But I hated dressing up. My mama would always make me wear dresses, and which I hated because they were like so uncomfortable. Y'all remember them white stockings? Because that's a different time period. Like I just hate it. Even in the church shoes, they're just uncomfortable. Just mainly because it's uncomfortable. Like why can't we praise God while being comfortable? But I mean, we still have to dress up. I remember cutting a hole into my dress one Sunday, and my mom wasn't too happy, and she made me wear the dress anyway. Now it was like a small hole in the front. It wasn't like I cut the hole in my like and people could see my buttocks. Like no. She made me wear the dress anyway, but I tried to get around it. So as a PK, you're pressured to be popular, but I was set apart. I don't understand why we want the PKs to be popular because I don't think we are too popular. To be honest, yeah. Once again, like unrealistic expectations as a PK. So I know when God sets you apart, you don't easily fit in. You know, you can't dance like everybody else. You'd stick out like a sore thumb, even if you do try to fit in because you're unique. But I grew up thinking that separation was punishment because when you're a kid, they make you stick your nose in the corner. You get forced to stick your nose in the corner when you're in trouble. I don't know if they still do that. Or you're made to like go in your room when you get in trouble. So I always thought that separation was punishment, and I always knew that I was unique, but I thought like it was something wrong with that. But as I'm older now, I realize that that's something special. But at the time, I just thought that that was a problem. But now I realize that separation isn't, when it comes to God, separation isn't punishment, it's protection. So I was put on a pedestal my entire childhood. I think the reason why most pastors' kids rebel is because they didn't ask to be in this situation. It's not like we popped out of the womb and was like, "Hey, I want to be a PK." Like I don't think nobody ever says that, to be honest, because I don't think it's a desirable position in the church. And then you got like all these unfair, unrealistic expectations put on you, and you're just a kid. Like we was created from dust, like you. We're just trying to make it through life, trying to get good grades in school, just like you. Fast forward, I'm in middle school now. I created a Facebook page. All my friends at school had a Facebook page, and I just said, "Hey, why not? Be in on social media." Now, this was around 2011, 2012. This was right when Facebook first became popular. But where I grew up at church, where I went to church at, it was seen as messy. So if you had a Facebook page, you were seen as messy. Now, fast forward like 15 years later, everybody at church has a Facebook page. So, when I created my Facebook page, everybody from church was sending me a friend request. And I didn't really think too much about it because it doesn't really register, but I didn't realize that they were watching me. This was before I knew about the block feature. That probably still explains why to this day I don't befriend people from church on Facebook. I just keep my personal life separate because of this reason. So people from church was watching my page like the FBI. I don't know what they was trying to catch, but I didn't like that lack of privacy. And y'all know, like, when teenagers get on Facebook or just like any social media, like, they're going to cut up. And so I was like on there cracking jokes, and I remember that song by Lil Wayne that came out. It wasn't, I don't know if it was like a real song, but it was like him singing it was a cartoon version of Lil Wayne. He was working at Burger King. He's like, I'm at Burger King making paper Whoppers, or making Whoppers out of paper. I don't know. I don't want to get copyrighted, but that was, I posted that on my Facebook page. And I just didn't care. So, page 2 of the church announcements. Someone from church wrote in a notebook everything crazy that I had said on Facebook and showed it to my dad. Now, this was before screenshots, and old heads don't really know how to use technology. Yeah, that was a nice experience. I think he made me delete my Facebook page, but I reactivated it. Cause I was on Facebook, Twitter, tweeting. Oh yeah. I'm gonna leave that at that. So I became an atheist. So, okay, this is after I was baptized. I started asking questions like, why do we go to church? Why do we worship God? Why do we go to church every Sunday? Why are we going to all these revivals? Is it something that we do because it's a family tradition, or is God really real? So I just kind of like made up in my mind that like God wasn't real. So I just like stopped believing. I didn't really tell nobody. Eventually I started back believing, but it was kind of like it was a little while, but yeah, I was still going to church, but I just didn't really believe that God. I just stopped believing that He existed, but because like I wasn't driving yet, so you're forced to go to church as a PK. So my dad is a father. Now my dad was very laid back for a pastor. Like me and my brother, we grew up listening to R&B, rap, hip hop. We grew up watching BET, Boys in the Hood, 106 & Park. What else? Disney, Nickelodeon. So we had freedom, but our parents were authoritative. Some people think that pastors are authoritarian, which is a dictator, but our parents still had authority, but they gave us our freedom. They allowed us to make mistakes. They allowed us to be ourselves, to enjoy our childhood. Yeah. So my dad was very supportive. He he always went above and beyond, and even when I played basketball, he he wasn't like the actual coach, but he was like my personal coach, coach you from the stands. And He was at every basketball game, and we had a basketball goal in our driveway, and he would be out there working with me on my shots. He would show me how to steal a ball. I don't think it was actually legal to steal a ball that way, but it's the legal in basketball to steal a ball that way. But it's the time that you spend with your child that counts. Even when I played softball, he would throw the ball to me and help me work on my batting skills. So he was always there, and even as I moved out on my own, he always made sure I was straight. So yeah. Now the thing about being a PK that I like is all the church tea. you know who got HIV, who got their lights cut out and needed the church's help to pay the light bill. Who needed the church's help to pay their rent. Who screwed who. And about the drummer screwing the whole choir stand. Yeah, now I will say this. The church that I grew up in, if somebody needed help financially or with whatever, like even just this past weekend, they had a free giveaway where they was giving away free clothes to the community. If somebody needed help, if somebody's lights got cut out, or if they needed help feeding their kids, and the church was financially able to do so because it was a small church, then they stepped up and helped that person. It wasn't really broadcasted in the church, but I knew it because I'm a PK. But yeah, if I know some churches don't do that, but the church I grew up in, they really believed in helping one another out, because that's what God is love, right? So at one point, I wanted to quit the choir to become an usher. I know my brother loved singing in a choir, and he still does to this day. But I just hated singing in the choir because, once again, the spotlight I don't like, and I want to be in the back, okay? I want to be as far in the back as possible. And so I started ushering, and I realized I loved it. And this was before the media. Churches had media teams. So I was like, I want to quit the choir to become an usher. They were like, no, you cannot quit the choir to become an usher. But I quit the choir anyway because, once again, I was rebellious. As a PK, I was a rebellious PK. Even as a kid, I got a whooping every day. So I eventually became the lead usher at about 15 or 16. And I loved it. And one thing I learned was how to serve, how to lead. Because I was over the young ushers and the adult ushers. So I learned that, when you're in leadership, you expect people of all ages. And so I learned how to be organized, and yeah, I enjoyed it. We had the baddest usher ministry. I don't know about the choir, but we had the baddest usher ministry in our church. So the craziest story. Someone was getting a haircut in the basement during the preached word. Okay. So, one Sunday while I'm ushering, another youth goes out into the lobby. One thing they taught us when we were learning how to be ushers was you cannot allow a youth to go downstairs by themselves during a worship service because somebody went down there by themselves. They had a medical emergency. They had a muscle spasm. The ambulance had to get called and they had to get rushed to the ER. So ever since that day, we couldn't allow nobody to go down there by themselves. So I stepped out with the other youth in the lobby. And I asked him, hey, what's going on? Why ain't you in service? He says, I'm waiting on my homeboy to come give me a haircut. And I'm like, am I high right now? Is this really happening? Because usher training didn't prepare me for this. So I guess like 15 minutes later, homeboy barber shows up. Now, mind you, this guy drove 2 hours away to give this boy a haircut at church, during church, in the church basement. So they go downstairs. He sets up his little clipper set. He had like a whole mat. Just like they go into the main Sunday school room. He lays down his whole mat and just like gets ready to start cutting his hair. So as like a teenage usher, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Cause this is unusual. So I go upstairs, and mind you, my dad is just now getting up to preach, and I tell my friend, we're gonna call her Candace, she was about like 40 at the time. I tell Candace, I'm like, you're not going to believe this. Such and such is down in the basement getting a haircut. And so she gets upset. She goes downstairs with me. I'm thinking this whole thing is funny. I wasn't mad, okay? But hey, I just knew that it wasn't respectful for God's house, So we go into the basement and she's like upset right now. She goes, such and such, are you serious? Are you really getting a haircut in the basement? And I kid you not, homeboy barber looks Candace dead in her face and goes, don't knock my hustle. Now, mind you, homeboy barber is younger than Candace. So Candace gets mad. She tells my other cousin, we're gonna name him Bobby. Bobby is heated. Like, it don't take much for Bobby to get mad. Now, mind you, this is a Baptist church. So there's a pulpit and there's a choir stand. So Bobby, mind you, my dad is giving his scripture now. Bobby goes into the choir stand and whispers in the other minister's ear because he's sitting in the pulpit. And I'm in the back of the church and I can read Bobby's lips. He goes, such and such is getting the haircut in the basement. And the look on the minister's face, like, he just like had that upset look. Like, I know, like, this is unreal. And he told somebody else sitting in the congregation, such and such is in the basement getting a haircut. They had their Bible because they was following along with the pastor. They were like, "What?" That like this person was sitting up front, like they was holding their Bible, and she goes, "What?" It slams the Bible on the pew. It goes downstairs. I don't know. I stayed upstairs, so I don't know if homeboy barber finished his haircut. But from what the youth told me was the reason why he wanted to get a haircut was because we had a second service. He wanted to get his haircut for the second service. Now, why didn't he get his haircut the day before on Saturday instead of Sunday? I don't know. It's not my head. So yeah, it kind of like got out into the church. Like, some people found out after church, and like I remember like one of the older women found out because they told her, and she was like, in church. Like he was really getting a haircut in church. Bro, it was funny. Like, the church I grew up in wasn't your typical Baptist church. So fast forward, my dad is having a general church meeting, and I guess he was like addressing the entire church. He said, from now on, we can't have any youth to go downstairs during the service. Mind you, this is the entire church is present. He goes, because we had a youth downstairs getting a haircut we had a youth in the basement getting a haircut during the worship service. And that was, bro, that was I still remember that to this day. Another crazy story, the praise team got to fighting. I guess there was like some jealousy going on in the praise team, and one of the ministers, I guess it was like three of them up there, but it was usually more than that because it was like four of them, but the fourth one was sitting down in a congregation, and I guess she wasn't happy with one of them being up there. I can't remember what she said, but I know like she confronted her after church. Is so it led to a big argument. They didn't really get to fighting, but I remember my dad was trying to get them to come into his office, and she was like, "No, I'm not going in there." And then she walks out of the church. I like, yeah, with the ushers, we had it together. So there's keeping up with the Joneses, and then there's keeping up with the PKs. So if you have any questions about my experience growing up as a PK, because I tried to detail it as best as I could, comment those down below, and I would love to make a separate video answering y'all's questions. If you have any stories PK related, because this is the PK stories, comment those down below as well, and I would love to make a separate video telling y'all stories as well. All right, on to page 3. I hated going to second programs because we was in church all day. So yeah, like we had like Sunday school, so that'll be at like 10 o'clock. Then worship service at 11, and then like got some time in between services, but we pretty much wouldn't get home till like 5 o'clock. So yeah, if you could give advice to your younger self, what would it be? Be unique. You're intelligent. You're smart. Don't compare yourself to other people. Don't allow your position as a PK or any title that you may have be your identity. Your identity is in Christ. I know when some people refer to you, they refer to you as a PK, but you're God's child. You're God's daughter. You was God's daughter before you became a PK. You're going to grow up to do amazing things, and despite the adversity that you faced growing up, and life is hard for all of us. I know some people pretend to have easy lives, but life is hard for all of us. And you're going to learn good perseverance. Yeah. It's okay to have a relationship with God. I need some chapstick. There's nothing wrong with having a relationship with God at an early age. You don't have to be ashamed of your relationship with Jesus, because child, you're gonna need him. Yeah, the closer you get with God, or the earlier you develop your intimate relationship with Jesus, the better off, because you're going to need his guidance, you're going to need his help. You can't make it in this life without him. Yeah, it's okay to be unique. It's okay to be different. Treat everybody with respect. Love everybody. It's not about being popular. Once you graduate high school, nobody cares about how popular you was in school. It's about like how you treat others and being kind to one another and loving one another.